After two straight conference blowout losses, things do not look good for the West Virginia Mountaineers football program, but the show must go on. And in this episode, we're going to get to know the next opponent for the Mountaineers, and that is the BYU Cougars. And we're going to bring on a very special guest to do that, and we're going to have that conversation with Trevor from Saturday's Warrior right now. What's up, and welcome into this episode of Couz's Corner, your home for top shelf college sports news and analysis surrounding the West Virginia Mountaineers and the Big 12. In today's show, we are getting to know the BYU Cougars, West Virginia's next opponent, as they get set to travel to Provo to face the Cougars this Friday night for a 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff. That's right. You better get your coffee ready, Mountaineer fans, because it's going to be a late one. But anyway, we're going to get to know a little bit more about the Cougars as we bring on Trevor from Saturday's Warrior. Trevor, what's up, man?
Couz, thanks so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
Absolutely, man. It's always a pleasure to have you on and to chat ball with you, man.
Yeah, I just got to say before we get started here, as I started my channel, yours was one that I definitely tried to model aspects of my show after and mimic in many ways. You're one of the OGs out here and one of the best doing it. So I love what you do.
I appreciate that, man. That means a lot. And by the way, just real quick before we dive into the show, let my listeners and viewers know where they can find you and your work.
Yeah, I'm on YouTube, and you can see my Twitter handle below. Same thing on YouTube. You can look me up that way. But Saturday's Warrior, BYU. If you just do Saturday's Warrior, you're going to find some really old Mormon movie. Don't watch that. That's where kind of the name comes from. But yeah, just come to watch my content. That's like I said, my Twitter handle, so I'm on there as well. But love to talk, obviously, primarily BYU, but also a lot of Big 12 and realignment things as well.
Awesome. And for those who might be listening and not watching, it's at Sats Warrior BYU on X and at YouTube, correct?
Yep. Sorry.
And he's also part of the College Huddle Network as well, so you can check him out there. So let's go ahead and first off, let's talk a little bit about I was not able to stay up and watch the BYU Colorado game last night as much as I tried to. BYU guys did end up pulling the game off 24-21. Probably closer than a lot of people expected it to be. Well, what were your initial thoughts after that game?
I was just happy the game was over because it was one of those types of games that did not go as scripted. We just played Colorado. Granted, it's been 9 months or so, but back in the Alamo Bowl, and BYU just completely dismantled them. And you can make the argument that BYU's gotten better since then, and Colorado has probably downgraded in many ways. And yet the game did not go as planned. So credit to Colorado. It was a close one. Colorado started with 2 quick touchdowns to go up 14-0 and really put the BYU in a tight spot early on. And fortunately, Cougars dug in and held in and found a way to grind out the win.
Yeah. 24-21 was the final score, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. You know what? BYU, it reminds me a lot of what we saw out of them last year. They won a lot of close games. You kind of had to grind them out, a lot of ways and win kind of non-traditionally, so to speak. And it looks like it might be some of the same thing this year. But let's go ahead and dive in. West Virginia is reeling right now. They're coming off 2 blowout losses. As you know, Utah beat us 48-14. Week prior, Kansas defeated the Mountaineers 41-14, or 41-10, actually, I think it was. So things are not great in Morgantown right now. We're dealing with a lot of injuries on the offensive side of the ball, including our star running back, Jaheim White, our backup running back, Ty Edwards, our quarterback, Nico Marchiol's hurt now. So there's just a lot of negativity right around the football program. But it's a rebuild year for Rich Rod and his program. But as a Utah fan, are you nervous at all about this game, or do you think it's pretty much going to be? And be honest, do you think it's going to be an easy W for the Cougars?
Well, first, just a little correction: BYU fan, not a Utah fan.
Did I say Utah fan?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'll let it slide this once.
Obviously, Utah's still on my brain, man. We're recording this on Sunday, so that game is unfortunately still at the top of mind. But anyway, keep rolling.
Pretty crazy to be. Not only is West Virginia in the same conference as schools from Utah, but to play them in back-to-back weeks, it's just what a wild world we live in.
Oh, but, no kidding.
Yeah, so I don't blame you. No, I do think BYU should win this game. This is one that you would hope, especially with West Virginia reeling the way it is, but you don't want to discount anybody. I have to think that BYU, at least BYU Twitter, that probably doesn't reflect the mindset of the team, but if the team went into this not too worried because they just had a big win over East Carolina, thinking, oh, remembering what they did last year, get to Colorado. Um, you don't want to overlook anybody because anything could happen, especially in the Big 12. We know that anybody could win any game and play spoilers. So I hope they're taking this game really seriously because I think West Virginia can do it. Obviously, Rich Rod can coach. Obviously, these guys are D1 athletes. Having said that, BYU at this point is still mostly healthy. We've got a few guys that are out, but mostly healthy and playing really well. And I think this game against Colorado will hopefully prove as a wake up call to this team and keep them focused and take this seriously. And then, furthermore, the game is in Provo. You got to go. Like you said, it's a very late kickoff time for East Coast team. Grant, so I cover BYU. I'm actually located in Virginia, and so I'm much closer to Morgantown than I am to Provo. And I get it. I stay up late for these games every week, and it's not easy. So with the body clock, with the altitude, with just all of that coming into it, I do think BYU should win, and hopefully they win comfortably. From my perspective, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's look, I don't right now. As you were talking, I was looking at the bringing up the DraftKings Sportsbook spread for this game. 19 and a half points is what the
Wow.
spread is on this game. So but look, you got a team coming off of 2 30-plus point losses against a team who's undefeated in their home field where it's going to be a hostile environment. Everybody knows how hard it is to win at Provo. Not to mention it's a 10:30 p.m. Eastern time kickoff. Who knows? I'm hoping the Mountaineers get into town a day or two early. I'm not sure how they do that for a Friday night game, but anyway, try to get their body clocks somehow adjusted to the time change. But nonetheless, does that help or not? Who knows? But I definitely think 19 and a half is, and this is coming from a West Virginia fan. I think it's generous, man. The way this team's played the last 2 weeks. What do you think about that 19 and a half point spread?
Well, here's the thing. So BYU does like to grind it out. They like to control the ball, control the clock. And once BYU gets up a few possessions, they are happy to play complementary football and just use up as much clock as they can. And also, we saw this against East Carolina. We were up by a few scores, and then the defense allowed a 99 and a half yard drive to score their lone touchdown of the game, and that was in the fourth quarter. And so I think other guys will be getting playing time. They'll be a little bit more conservative. It's not Kalani Sitake style to blow teams out. Not saying that BYU will blow West Virginia out. Again, you pointed out West Virginia has been blown out a couple games in a row. I think this is a team that's going to be desperate, going to be coming in scrappy. And so I do expect a lot of fight from the Mountaineers, but it's through, if things go as the books and Vegas and everybody's projecting, I think that seems realistic to me. Satake just does not like to run up the score.
Right. Makes sense. Well, like you said, it probably doesn't really play into how they like to play anyway, right? All right, let's go ahead and dive into the nuts and bolts of this BYU team because you obviously know them better than I do. So I bring you on. Let's start off with BYU's defense, right? Because right now West Virginia's offense has been struggling. They've played 5 different quarterbacks. We have no clue who's going to start this one. We won't know probably till a day before the game or even on game day, to be honest. But West Virginia's O-line has been struggling. Obviously we're depleted at running back with injury. What is this BYU defense? Obviously, we all know that it's a good defense. What is the strength of the BYU defense in your mind?
I would say the strength of this team is creating chaos. They're able to, Jay Hill, the defensive coordinator, is able to hide a lot of the coverages, the schemes, and keep quarterbacks off kilter and really keep them guessing what the defense is doing. In terms of position groups, I would say it's our linebackers. We've got a couple linebackers that may have been able to go for the NFL last year that came back in Isaiah Glasker and Jack Kelly, and they're just all over the place. They gave Colorado fits last night. They gave them fits in the Alamo Bowl. They're just all over the field, And so that really sets the tone for this defense. And we got bigger in the middle. We brought in transfer from Utah in Keanu Tanavasa, and he's a big guy going up the middle, really putting pressure on that O line. So I'd say our secondary, we have a lot of talent, but we're a little bit dinged up. So we have some guys playing out of position. So
Okay.
I think where we have this is maybe I'm going ahead to your next question, but where we've had a little bit of weakness is perhaps playing in zone at times, or some guys, I think, still trying to figure that out, or perhaps not in position. Having said that, BYU does get a lot of turnovers and a lot of interceptions. And again, it goes to that chaos and this disguising a lot of the pressures and things that they're either bringing, or they'll show pressure and drop back. And so really making it difficult for the quarterback. And so I think that helps compensate for some of that. But I do think, you know, that leaves some weaknesses there for a quarterback to try to find some soft spots in the defense through the passing game.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. I'm looking at PFF grades here, and it says BYU has a pass rush grade of 78.4, which is pretty good. Not elite, but good, right? Do you what would you say the pass rush is like in your mind from what you've seen so far from this BYU team?
Yeah, I think that is probably besides going up the middle with Keanu Tanavasa, that's probably our weakest position group on defense, and I think they're still trying to figure that out. That's not to say we don't have guys, but I was reading something that from somebody else who's breaking down the film from last night from the Colorado game, and showing that at one point we had a couple guys that were filling the same gap that allowed Colorado to go on one of their touchdown drives there. And so I'd say that's probably where we could use a little more help, but I think they've been doing a really good job. And like I said, with the linebackers there, that's where we're able to still bring a lot of pressure when we, through blitzes and through
Right.
different packages. And the thing about these guys is Jack Kelly, for example, he is a big young man, rather large, but he has closing speed like you wouldn't believe. And there was a couple times last night where he closed in on Salter, and if Salter thought he had the time, thought he had him beat, and he just closed in and just brought him right down. And so we use him as a spy sometimes on the quarterback when it's necessary. And so that helps a lot, I think, and make up for maybe some of that defensive line.
Yeah. Well, great point. You said when you mentioned his name, I pulled him up on PFF. 90.8 pass rush grade is what Jack Kelly has right now. So I can see why. And he's played 34 pass rush snaps. So, I mean, he's not a ton of pass rush snaps, but it's still a lot, right? They're going to look to him on special, maybe third downs, or when they needed to, scheme something up to get to the quarterback. That's the guy they're going to go to.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's what it appears to me. So
we call him Sack Kelly. He's going for 10 this season.
Yeah.
He feels like that'll get him in a good spot for that.
He has 4 already. He's on his way. 4 sacks, 2 hits, 5 QB hurries, 16 tackles, 4 assisted tackles, and only 4 missed tackles. So, I mean, he's a sure tackler as well, which is an area this BYU team appears to be really good in, is the tackling phase. Would you agree with that?
I did until the first quarter of last night of the Colorado game. There were some times I just thought, wrap up.
Yeah.
But that is definitely something since bringing in defensive coordinator Jay Hill over the last couple seasons that BYU has improved on a lot, because that used to be a big weakness of ours, as West Virginia may remember from a couple seasons ago.
Yeah, well, it's a weakness of this West Virginia team now, which we'll get to later. I'm not going to – it's focused right now on the defense for BYU. What you mentioned pass rush not necessarily been a strength of the team as far as from the edge position, edge rushers or DNs. They have to scheme up things with the linebackers and whatnot. And you mentioned maybe some injuries on the back end. Do you have any specifics on what those injuries are and who they are?
Yeah, let me shoot. So, and as far as on the defensive line, I don't know if there are injuries. I mean, there's all kinds of guys coming in and out, and I just don't know if we had like a strong, clear favorites. But for example, one of the big pieces that we're missing at cornerback is Jonathan Cavea.
Okay.
And yeah, when I talk about guys playing out of position, so we've got Tommy Prassis, who is a free safety. He's got some speed and he's done
Mm-hmm.
really well there, but he's moved over to corner, and I think
Mm-hmm.
he struggled a little bit. And there's been, it's sometimes it's hard to know if the defense, when we're watching, you can only see so much of the
Right.
field, and
Right.
we don't
Right.
know what the schemes are and this and that. So it's hard to always know if the defense is messed up or what's going on. But there've been a couple plays over the last couple days where last couple weeks, where I've seen that it seemed pretty obvious that he was not where he needed to be. If that makes sense. So I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
that's something
For
that
sure.
caught my eye with, first pass upon first viewing. Then I feel like it's something that stands out quite a bit. And he's a really good player. So I don't mean to disparage him. He's just out of position. And so Jonathan Cavea is really good. And so when we get him back, I think it'll allow things to shift back to its normal order.
Makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, and you mentioned Prassus, and his PFF grades are not terrible, but he does have some of the lower PFF grades on that defense. So, uh, yeah, I can see, especially in the tackling front, he's grading out at 59.3 in tackling. So that kind of goes along with what you're talking about. Like I said, he's not bad necessarily, but matter of fact, and I don't know how much you believe in PFF grades. I don't think they're the end all be all, but I do think they're a good, at least directionally, kind of shows you how guys are playing.
Yeah, exactly.
BYU doesn't have a whole lot of weaknesses, man, according to PFF. I mean, it's the PFF grades are, I mean, team PFF grades 94.7 overall as a team. I mean, that's elite right there. 83.9 offensively, 72.3 in the pass game, 75 in the pass blocking game, 71.3 in receiving, 83.8 run in the run game, 78.7 in run blocking, 86.9 in defense, 81.7 in run defense, 73.5 in tackling, which is the lowest grade on the defensive side and still not bad. 78.4 in pass rush, 86.6 in coverage, and 90.9 in special teams. I mean, that right there shows a good football team to me.
Yeah, we feel really confident with what we have. We brought back a lot of guys this year on both sides of the ball. The big notable change was at quarterback. Uh,
Right.
are you ready to switch to the offensive side, or you still have?
No, I will, but real quick before we do, though, I have to do a quick shout out to our sponsor, and then we'll jump right over and start talking about the offensive side of the ball. So, folks, stay with us. We'll be right back. Your season, your shot. The NFL season is rolling, and every touchdown can bring you closer to a payout with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. From first touchdown scorer to anytime TD props or the thrill of live in-game betting, every snap is loaded with opportunity. New customers, this one is for you. Bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Plus, score over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code COUZ. That's code COUZ to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you place your first $5 bet. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Fees may apply in Illinois, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. NFL Sunday Ticket offer for new subscribers only and auto renews until canceled. Digital games and commercial use excluded. Restrictions apply. Additional NFL Sunday Ticket terms at youtube.com/go/NFL Sunday Ticket/terms. Limited time offer. Plus, over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. All right, thank you for letting us get through the housekeeping. And, of course, a shout-out to DraftKings for supporting us here on the show. Trevor, let's go ahead and switch sides of the ball, man. Let's go ahead and talk about it. Bear Bachmeier, the freshman quarterback. Very rare you see a freshman quarterback starting at the Power 4 level, much less playing as well as he's playing. So talk a little bit about him and what he brings to this team.
Yeah, this is the first freshman quarterback to ever start the season for BYU. So obviously was not scripted. He was at Stanford in the spring ball. We had different starting quarterback. A lot of events happened I won't get into on this episode. But long story short, we had a three-way battle for quarterback in fall camp, and Bear emerged, which is interesting. Two other guys have some experience starting at other programs, have been with BYU longer, and they just talked about his ability to learn, to read the defense, and his ability to push the offense. And so nobody really knew what we were going to get going into this season. Obviously, we kind of had a nice slow ramp up. We started with Portland State, and then Stanford, even though they're FBS, still kind of a bottom tier FBS team, ECU, and then to Colorado. And so we've kind of been able to ramp up slowly. And each week we have seen him continue to show just how poised he is and how mature he is for a freshman, coming in and never really seeming to get rattled at all. Now there have been a couple games where it seems like it's taken him a little bit to kind of settle in and get the feel for the game. I think that's normal. He has, sometimes, figure out the passing. He's been a little behind or ahead of somebody, or just really working on that timing a little bit. But once he gets settled in, then he can really just start controlling the game. And something that you all will see, if you haven't seen already, is that he wears the number 47. And that's back to his dad teaching him to play like a fullback. He just wants him to go through people. And so he plays with that mindset. And you see that. Now, there's times when he can run. He's not necessarily speedy, but he can run, has a feel for it. And sometimes, if the pressure comes and he feels like he's got to go east to west, I haven't really seen him be able to get around the corner too successfully at this point. But when he goes north to south, he can just go through people, and he's not afraid of the contact. He likes it. And so obviously it's a lot of fun to watch. We don't love seeing our quarterback take too many hits, but he has the confidence to stand up in the pocket, step up into it, and be able to wait till that last possible moment to get the throw off if necessary and take that hit. And so he's just been really good. And regardless of how this season goes, or what games come, because losses will come, and BYU fans feel very confident with the ball in his hands and with him as the future of the program.
Right. Yeah. Well, I was sitting here looking. The guy has thrown 6 touchdowns and 0 interceptions as a freshman. That's pretty remarkable.
You guys might remember, because West Virginia was the cause of a lot of it, but Jake Retzlaff was a bit turnover prone. Obviously, he got better at that last year when BYU went on the really good run, but even then, there were turnovers. Even in our dismantling of Colorado, there were turnovers from Jake Retzlaff, and we kind of liked it. It was kind of the high highs and the low lows, and you went with it. But with Bear, you just kind of have that constant, and it is a breath of fresh air.
Yeah. I mean, just for those listening, here are his stats. 61 completions on 90 attempts, which is 67.8% completion percentage. That's remarkable. 698 yards, 7.8 yards per attempt, 6 TDs, no interceptions. His grade, 77.3 grade, 74.2 passing grade, 69.1 run grade. So that shows, kind of Trevor's point, he's not necessarily a great runner, but he's a capable runner, right? He can run when he needs to run. And a number that sticks out to me is he's only been sacked 4 times, but yet his average time to throw the football is only 2.35 seconds, which is not a lot. Does he get rid of the football? As someone who hasn't watched a ton of BYU ball, does he get rid of the ball quickly, or is he getting a lot of pressure and having to get rid of it quickly?
There are times, and to your point, last night, or in the Colorado game, there was a time when he was getting pressured and he was willing to just get rid of it, which, again, it was a mature move. It seems so easy when we're watching on our couch, but how often we watch quarterbacks hold on to it too long or try to force it. And he didn't. And he just got – he read it, and he – he'll try to extend the play, and he's capable of doing it. But honestly, I've seen a lot of plays get kind of blown up, but there's a lot of handoffs And then there's also a lot of a quick kind of backward pass that we use as kind of an extension of the run game to try to
Right.
open things up on the wings. And so there are a number of those as well to try to, to get the ball out of his hand quickly. And so, yeah, he does seem to manage to avoid getting sacked too often. Sometimes the pressure does come. I was surprised at Colorado how quickly they were able to blow up a lot of plays, but BYU used it to our advantage. We talk about him not necessarily being a runner, but against Colorado, he had 15 carries for 98 yards, and it was actually over 198. A lot of those came at the end where he ran backwards quite a bit just to run out
Mhm.
the clock and take it.
Right.
And so, he actually had a great running night, and it just kept working. So they kept doing it with the QB draw. So um, that was a long way of kind of answering your question.
No, it's a great answer. Just to summarize, you credit the fact that he's just able to make decisions quickly and process stuff quickly and get rid of the football. You don't necessarily think it's you know, uh, the offensive line. That's why his pressure to sack is only 2.3, or time to throw rather is only 2.35 seconds. It's because he's making decisions quickly.
Yeah, I do think that is a big component of it.
Okay.
He is able to, and maybe that is by design. Maybe they give him a few reads,
Yeah.
but
And that's the reason. I guess I probably should have asked the question more clearly. I guess what I was trying to get at, is it a scheme thing, or is it a fact that he's getting pressure in his face and has to get rid of it thing? But I mean, because when I look at the pass blocking grades, it looks like BYU pass blocks really well. So it doesn't seem like pressure's and he's only been sacked 4 times. So it doesn't seem like pressure's a huge issue. Is the offensive line holding up pretty well?
yeah, I think so. I mean, that's the thing is, I guess what comes to mind are all the times that it doesn't, excuse me, that it doesn't
Right.
hold up, and so those are the times that I remember the most. But I guess if I think about it,
Obviously.
I'm not. I think if you're not thinking about the offensive line, then yeah, they're doing their job. So I think so.
Okay. Hey, do me a favor. Go check out my good friends over at Appalachia Digital. If you need a brand new website for your small business, or if you're just looking to get found easier on Google, go check out appalachiadigital.com/Couz. These are the fine folks who designed my brand new website over at WVSportsChat.com. They did a fantastic job. I love their work. I think you will too. So go check them out. appalachiadigital.com/Couz. Let them know Couz sent you. Now let's get back to the show. And let's talk a little bit about LJ Martin in that run game. What's he been like so far this year?
Matt, he is everything that we have seen him becoming over the last couple seasons. Granted, he has been in his first 2 seasons. He's been plagued by some injuries. That is something that's concerning. He was a little shaken up in the Colorado game and had to step out for a little bit, but came back and kept going. And LJ, I think, he is our premier back, and he is just he's as good as we've had. He is a solid runner. He is shifty, but more than anything, he's decisive, and he's put on some size this year too. But he's still fast. He's not like a lightning guy, lightning quick, but he's fast and he can go through people.
Mhm.
And oftentimes we're watching where you have multiple 2, 3, even 4 players. It feels like that have to get there to bring him down. And so I think something that Aaron Roderick, our offensive coordinator, has always wanted to do, even though we haven't necessarily always had the backs to do it, is establish the run to open up the pass. And there have been other times it's like, hey, the pass is our strong suit. Let's establish the pass, open up the run, and help our running backs out a little bit. But this year, I think he's finally able to settle in and call the offense the way he wants to, with establishing the run and forcing teams to start loading the box. We saw that against ECU. LJ started at the opening drive with he just tore off a couple big runs, and they started loading the box. And after that, they're like, fine, beat us out with your arm, freshman quarterback. And sure enough, Bear did. And so I think that's kind of also by design and playing into the way that our offense wants to operate.
Yeah, I'm sitting here looking at his stats right now. He's carried the ball. Let's see, he's carried it 55 times for 400 yards, 7.3 yards per carry. That's that's pretty darn good. 1 touchdown. But here's what's even more remarkable: he's averaging 5 yards a carry after contact. So
Right.
he can break some tackles
He
for sure.
certainly can. And yeah, in his first 3 games, he had over 100 yards. And now Colorado had him bottled up a little bit more. Yeah, he is a hard one to bring down.
And that, as a West Virginia fan, that makes me nervous because one of the areas West Virginia has, up until yesterday or Saturday, I should say, against Utah, West Virginia's defense had played fairly well. They had a little bit of a rough second half against Kansas, but up until then, they had really played pretty well. But the one area they have struggled in about all year is tackling. They have not tackled well at all. And I'm talking PFF grades in the 30s and 40s by some of these players. So tackling's been a struggle. So it seems to me like this is a game where if I'm a BYU fan, if I'm Kalani Sitake, if I'm Roderick, A-Rod, I guess as some BYU fans call him, I might be giving West Virginia a heavy dose of LJ Martin and saying, we dare you to tackle this guy because we don't think you can. You know, that's what do you think about that?
I think that is exactly how it's going to go. And if they're not able to tackle him, they're going to keep feeding him. And as well as, so we are, and hopefully they're somewhat careful because, like I said, he was a little shaken up in the last game, and our backup running back, Sione Moa, was out last game, and I don't know what the status of his injury is. And so we're a little bit thinner at running back. We also had, there's another player that we thought we'd have from this offseason who wasn't given a waiver. And so we're a little bit thinner at running back in terms of depth than what we had last year. But we also think that LJ's taken that next step. So, yeah, if he's got the ball in his hands and people aren't able to wrap him up, I feel good about what BYU is going to be able to do.
Yeah, interesting. All right. Speaking of that, before I want to get ahead. I want to jump ahead for BYU, but before we do that, though, I do have to ask you about that wide receiver core. What's that looking like this year?
It's interesting because this was probably one of our strongest position groups of all last season, and we brought back Chase Roberts, who is our premier wide receiver, and he's still Chase Roberts. It's funny because actually he's had some uncharacteristic drops this year, and I don't know if it's just getting used to Bear getting on the same page or where the ball is being placed or what. And he had one early on against Colorado, and then after that, he and Bear were really connecting, and so hopefully we see more of that. In terms of the rest, our guy who's going to fill in as kind of our number 2 wide receiver, he went out injured, and he'll be out most likely the rest of the season. Collarbone. I think technically within the timeline he can make it back for like the bowl game, but for all intents and purposes, he is out for the season. So we're a little bit thinner there, but there have been other guys stepping up. Parker Kingston, who is more of a slot receiver, we use him a little bit more in like jet sweep and some of our gadget plays, and he also does some of our returning. He's really stepped up as a receiver, and he is a speedy guy. And so I've been impressed with what we've seen from him, kind of stepping up as the number 2 receiver, which was surprising. And then not a wide receiver, but in terms of receiving, is we have our tight end, Carson Ryan, another transfer from Utah, and he has come in and we've kind of struggled with finding the tight end for the last few seasons, and he has been a revelation. He is so good, and he's been that kind of safety valve for Bear when he's needed him. And he's an all-down kind of tight end, and he's really proven to be a weapon in the receiving game as well.
Yeah, interesting. All right, let's go ahead and jump ahead a little bit. Correct me if I'm wrong, but don't BYU, isn't the Holy War between BYU and Utah coming up a week after this one?
No, so we have Arizona in between.
Okay.
Wait,
okay.
Is that 4 or 5? Yeah. So just Arizona between, and so I don't think we're going to be caught looking ahead.
Yeah, darn it. I was hoping it was next week. Dang.
Hopefully not. Hopefully they're very focused on this game because you never want to get caught looking ahead.
Right. Well, I know, but it can be easy to do at times if you got a big game coming up, and I was kind of hoping we could catch West Virginia could catch them in a trap game moment, but Doesn't look like that's going to happen. So,
nice try though.
what are one last question? What are your expectations? I say you overall expectations from the fan base, from yourself and others for this BYU. Is it win the Big 12? Is it just compete for the Big 12? What are the overall expectations for this team this year?
That's a really good question because I feel like we've been all over the place. Coming into the season when we had Jake Retzlaff, it was absolutely we expected BYU to make it to the Big 12 championship game. We felt like we were really close last year. Felt like really we should have had it, but we came up short. And that's not to take away from what the other teams did. It's just we felt like we had the ability to do it and came up short. And this year, a lot of guys came back for that reason. And so that the expectations were there. Then we get a freshman quarterback coming in. No one really knows what to expect. Expectations are probably a little bit lower. Still think we'll be pretty good. But now that people have seen him, I bet there's a lot of people that have some irrational confidence from what they've seen from him so far. But maybe last week or against Colorado, maybe changed some minds because we did show some cracks. But I would say that BYU should be in that kind of definitely in the upper half of the conference, definitely in the running to compete for the Big 12 championship game. But it's really tough at the top. There's some really good teams. And the way our schedule is, I think it's really winnable on the front half, but the back half is really tough. You mentioned we're playing the Holy War in the middle of the season. And then hey, you guys know what it's like to play your most hated rival at unconventional times within the season. That really throws the rhythm of it off. And we saw last year after the Holy War, both BYU and Utah came out flat in their next games, and that was BYU's first loss. It wasn't the Holy War; it was the game after. And
Right.
the game after Utah, we go to Ames to play Iowa State, and then fortunately we have a bye week. But then we go to Texas Tech. Then we get TCU. Then we're playing at Cincinnati, and so it is just a really tough gauntlet from that point on. That I think BYU, if they can out of those 1, 2, 3, 4, even 5, if we can win out of those 5 games, 3 of them, I think BYU will be in a good position. But again, there's no real guarantees in the Big 12.
Yeah, agreed. Well, Trevor, thanks for coming on the show one more time. Let everybody know where to find you and your work.
Yep, find me at Sats Warrior BYU, both on Twitter and YouTube. Record there. We do kind of recaps from the weekend. We do our power rankings and predictions on Monday nights live at 8:30 Eastern, and then we'll also do a lot of collaborations like this, previewing the matchup for the week. And those come out later in the week as well as our live reactions after the game. So I love to get opposing fan bases in there and joining in the talk and the chat and giving us their perspective. Just love the Big 12 and having all the back and forth.
Awesome. Yep. So everybody go check it. Check Trevor's workout Saturday's Warrior on YouTube at Sats Warrior BYU. You can also find him on Twitter if you want to interact with him over there, or X, whatever you call it. But Trevor, it's always a pleasure to have you on, man. And outside of Saturday or Friday night, I should say in this case, good luck the rest of the season, man, to the Cougars.
I thank you. You too.
Everybody, thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. Please be sure to hit the thumbs up button. Drop your score prediction below. Let us know what you think, how the game is going to turn out. Please be sure to share this with your family and friends. I'm almost to 10,000 subscribers, so please help me get there. I really appreciate your support. Hope the rest of your day or night is top shelf. God bless. And as always, don't forget to cue country roads.